everybody, and welcome to the Nürburgring for the next round of the Radical Esports Cup. It's only just a new season. Round 2 this week of Season 3 in 2026 brings us here to the venue where we're often going on to the Nordschleife. Used to be the final round of the season every season, but now used a little bit more sparingly, and this season not being used at all. Instead, just the Grand-Prix layout here tonight, and it's only week 2 as well. Myself, Ian O'Leary, Joe Gregory, going to be bringing you commentary here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing here tonight with Maria Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. JR, we are coming to a place, as I say, that is so well travelled for these radicals, but the Grand-Prix circuit, which, as we're seeing here in the early images of practice and qualifying, makes these radicals look very, very small. I think a decent-sized racetrack for these radicals to race on tonight.
You're right, and the GP-Strecke is absolutely a fantastic track car combination that we're going to bring to you here this afternoon. And we'll talk about the schedule later, but the Radical community puts together a great schedule. And I'll tell you, and one of my favorite parts of this track is threading the needle in turns 14 and 15, that final chicane before the penultimate corner, or before the last corner onto the pit straight. The precision and the speed there never fail to disappoint. Absolutely thrilling.
Yeah, and it is round 2, as I say, of our season. It's starting really a run of some quite technical racetracks, really. Barber next week, Imola the week after that, Road Atlanta the week after that, before we get back to the Grand Prix circuits like this one at Silverstone to bring us to the halfway mark of the season. Willow Springs is also an odd one to throw into the... Looking forward to that on week 7 as well at the end of July, but that's all still to come here this season. It is only round 2, so we won't show you the standings so far. I can remind you, though, that Jake Williams took the race victory in our broadcasted race last week, and it was a dramatic race as well. He beat Brandon Hawkin to victory on that occasion. Hawkin returning tonight, by the way, with the number 1 on his car. And not a driver I've seen too much of in the Radicals before, but showed himself to be pretty strong last week and may well do it again here this week. Looking at the grid here tonight, we've got, I would say, just around 10 names that we're used to seeing. But again, as we often have here these days in the Radical Esports Cup, some newer names as well, some names we don't see so much of in this series. So looking forward to seeing how they get on in amongst all of the regular names who we see pretty much every week, it feels, in the Radical Esports Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me go ahead and pitch this car, this Radical SR10, 4-cylinder turbo, 425 horsepower, 1,000 pounds lighter than the popular MX-5 Cup car. No traction control, no anti-lock brakes, and even if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Mastery of the SR10 will make you better at every car that you drive. If you love the feeling of the mechanical grip and aero through medium to high-speed corners, if you love the sound of a turbo coming on in a high-strung 4-cylinder, you will love this car. Go get one and get it today.
Yeah, it's a great point, and we do talk about all the time, but it is true. It is true. Here is the end of the lap for Rafa Blanco. That's going to be pretty much the last one over the line first time round. Peter Evening just going to the top there with a lap time in the low 49s. Brandon Hawkin was previously on the pole there. Jake Williams also, familiar names again, who were popping up towards the front as they did last week. Let's see what the time is going to be for Rafa Blanco as he crosses the line here. Number 7 goes into 9th place, so that's a bit of a lowly lap time really compared to what you'd expect from him. But yeah, Peter Evening, Brandon Hawkin and Jake Williams, the top 3 at the moment, and they're all separated by less than a quarter of a second. That's pretty good going around a lap time that is nearly 2 minutes long.
Yeah, quite a cluster up top, and personally I'm keeping my eye on Heinz Braun, the German, to see if he can improve his lot in life here in qualifying, defending the home turf here at the Nürburgring Grand-Prix-Strecke. And man, I am looking forward to this, and we'll talk about it more. But when you see these radicals threading the needle at 100 plus, going through that final chicane prior to the last corner, it is absolutely thrilling. Looking forward to seeing how this one unfolds.
Hawkin again going to the top there in front of Jake Williams. Peter Evening yet to finish his session, I believe. Yeah, he's still coming through that final section of corners right now, Peter Ivany. So this is going to be a big lap time for him, potentially, to try and get towards the top end of the standings. We'll see if anybody else really has a chance here. I think Ivany's got the best chance here, as Jose Luis Fernandez Uris goes over the line and will, I think, stay down towards the back. Heinz Brun moves up to 6th place. Here's Peter Ivany, though, topping your screen. This could be a big lap time, could be pole. Oh, it's going to be close. Has he taken it? Not quite. 5 thousandths of a second separating Peter Ivany from Brandon Hawkin in a pole position here tonight. We knew that it was going to be him who challenged there late on and challenged at the very end of this qualifying session, but my goodness, he's just missed out by the barest of margins there.
Wild stuff. Yes, folks, that .046, that is 46 milliseconds separating P1, 2, and 3 here in qualifying. So buckle up. We got a good one coming. And look at that spread, Ewan. The top 10 competitors out here separated by only 0.9 in a pretty lengthy lap, almost 2 minutes out here. So good competition here as always. Yeah,
that is fantastic news. And it's not like a long circuit like Monza where actually there's not many corners, even though it's quite a long circuit. This is turns all the way pretty much here. So yeah, very impressive. This is that's not the sort of easy on the eye threading the needle that you're talking about from Florian Horvath there. And that was quite wild. He comes into the pit lane nevertheless. Hopefully he doesn't need to do that in the race, as there are no pit stops in these races. Denis Kyrikopoulos is a long way down by his standards. 2.2 seconds off of Brandon Hawkin. He's not going to get the time to complete another lap, and he'll start down in 16th place. That will be very disappointing for Kyrikopoulos, and very, well, it's a lot of work to do, let's put it that way, in the race. Brandon Hawkin takes the pole, though, by just 5 thousandths of a second. Will do well to beat that this season for a close margin. Peter Ivany second. Jake Williams less than half a tenth away there in third. James Barry alongside him. Max Davies with perhaps the best surprise. Top 5 in qualifying from him with Heinz Brun, then in 6th place. Over half a second off pole for Solly Rettinen, who's ahead of Ketil Larsen in 8th place. Mikel Mercesia is 9th ahead of Rodrigo Cabanero, rounding out the top 10. Romain Faux next ahead of Florian Horvath, who rounds off row 6. Rafa Blanco also be disappointed with that. 13th place for him, ahead of John Pethick, with Dick Kennedy, then Denis Kyrikopoulos, and Jose Luis Fernandez Uris, who rounds out the 17 drivers in the field, and they've all set times here as well. Well, it's a stacked field, and as you mentioned, close field as well. 14 laps here, and actually Nürburgring Grand Prix can turn into a bit of a draft track, so I'm expecting this race to stay close as well, actually, based on those qualifying times.
Yeah, it very well should. There's a couple of very long stretches, and we talk about this week in and week out. The slipstream very strong in these SR10s, so if you can stay within 0.6, 0.7 in some of those slow corners leading onto a couple of these long straightaways, it will suck you right up to the back of your competitor ahead, and then you're faced with a decision when you get to the end of that straight. What are you going to do with that extra speed? Tuck behind or make a move? And then we're going to be watching the outcomes of those decisions all afternoon here.
Yeah, we certainly will. As gridding just comes to a close here in the next couple of moments. Still waiting on Larsen and Blanco to get onto the grid here in time for the start of this race. And Blanco might be tempted to start from the pit lane, to be honest. He's 13th, right in the middle of the pack on the run down towards a very dangerous turn number 1. Incidents and accidents can definitely happen through here. Well, all 17 do make it onto the grid, and we're ready to go in the Radical Esports Cup here tonight from the Nürburgring. Underway, and it's not a good start from the pole sitter there. Not a good start at all for Brandon Hawkin. The second week in a row that's happened, and Williams following Ivany get down the inside in towards turn 1. Peter Ivany leads in front of Jake Williams, and then it's Hawkin, the pole sitter, as the entire field make their way through turn 1. It's a familiar story for the pole sitter Brandon Hawkin, who loses 2 places almost immediately.
Yeah, Hawkin getting swamped off the line here. You see him fighting back, though, trying to go side by side with Jake Williams. But as I said, no traction control on these cars, no warm-up laps. So we're starting on dead cold tires with no TC and 425 horsepower on tap. And a lot of these guys with experience in these radicals have clutch setups with everything dialed in. Oh, and there's an bit of mishap there.
Heinz Braun and Rafa Blanco involved, Sully Rettinen as well. It was Heinz Braun who got loose on his own, getting on the power there, coming out of the right-hander at turn 7, the forward curve, and he's cannoned into the others who have also got damage down there. We'll see if anybody has to retire or tow back to pit lane after that one, but that was a big one for Heinz Braun firstly, and then some of the others who powered him behind. Here it is again. Heinz Braun's in the black and red on the inside here of the 14, just loses it on the power, and as he overcorrects, he snaps back into the rest of the field, and Rettinen and Blanco have nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that is the story of disrespecting the SR10. You're on the power in second gear, the turbo kicks in, the power spools up, and Braun getting loose there, over-rotating on cold tires, and maybe suffering from the jinx there. My apologies to Heinz. Wanted to see him put on a good defense of his home track here, and it looks like it's over for him.
Okay. Romain Fo's also got a lot of damage now. No rear wing or any part of that rear car, rear end actually. That's a bit odd, as Rafa Blanco does have to come into pit lane. Now John Pethick has had trouble through turn 1, I think. That might well have been contact, or you can spin on your own if you're too far over the inside curve there at the Nürburgring. Maybe that's what happened, but we'll find out in a moment. These are the leaders. I mentioned that Nürburgring can be a bit of a drafting track in these cars, and to be a part of that, you've got to make the front group. Even Williams, Hawkin, Barry all seem to have made the front group. This is what happened to Romain Fo meantime, out of the final turn. Oh, he's got on the power too soon, and it's snapped away from him. So it's a very similar sort of incident to Heinz Braun. Obviously, the effects afterwards are a little bit different, but it all starts with getting on the power too vigorously again there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have patience in these cars. As I said, that turbo spools up. All of a sudden, you're 400 plus horsepower with no TC, and especially early here with cold tires, it can bite you. And, you kind of have to manage your risk and reward. You don't want to be tentative on the throttle, but you do have to be patient, especially early. And Roman there with the faux pas, and we'll go on board with Patrick. Doink! And there was nothing Pethick could have done there. So Pethick probably taking damage as well following that faux pas.
So that's where he lost those places. It wasn't actually an individual incident in towards turn 1. Like I said, he's just struggling to turn now with that damage on the front left. Meantime, Hawkin is going to try and strike here. This is feeling very similar to Road America already, as Hawkin gets down, well, not the fact he's get down the inside of Jake Williams, but the fact he's recovering places after a poor start. Down the inside he goes, and he's up to second, but there'll be concerns now that this is giving Peter Ivany the opportunity to get away and control this race from multiple seconds out front. The gap's 2/3, 3/4 of a second right now, and Hawkin has got to try and close that, because I think if Peter Ivany breaks the slipstream, then I think this race for the win is over. So a big couple of moments coming up for Brandon Hawkin, I would say.
Yeah, to you right, Hawkin in the danger zone right now. You've got to keep that gap under 0.7 when you pull out onto those long straightaways. If you miss the train, you're going to be late for work. So far, Hawkin looking good, though. Is that gap dropping? I saw a flash of 0.5, saying at 0.6 right now. Ivany getting a good drive right there, though. And that is Ivany's #1 goal right now as he goes through the Schumacher S's to extend that gap to around a second. And if he can do that, he's not going to be towing Hawkin and Williams and Barry fighting behind.
Well, what does Jake Williams do here? Does he decide that this is a lost cause now and go to get second place back again? Or does he put his faith in Brandon Hawkin for just a little bit longer? Well, he can't put his faith in anyone else. It's got to be Hawkin here, or it's not going to happen for anybody, because the time lost in whoever will overtake for second again, if there is going to be another one, will lose sufficient time to allow Peter Ivany away for good. But look at that final section there from Hawkin, the chicane itself, and then that dive into the final hairpin. That was very strong indeed from Brandon Hawkin there, and he will be grabbing a little bit of a draft on the way towards turn 1. I think he might just have saved this, less than half a second. Again, Nürburgring is one of those circuits where you can pull a gap from a standing start anyway, but Hawkin has definitely got back in that draft now, and he's putting some pressure on Ivany now for the race lead.
Yeah, some great camera work right here from our producer Ramiro as, gosh, that's Williams blinking in and out of his distance right there, but great gap management from Hawken. He's cut that gap ahead to about half, and what I was going to say was that Williams was not the type to wait around for Hawkins to make something happen, but right now he's probably happy with what he's seeing in front of him, and might be content to see Hawken take on Avani and pick up the pieces.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And that's the calculation he would have been making in the last couple of moments here. Do I get involved for second and try and win that straight back again, or do I be a little bit more patient and watch it unfold and maybe pick up the pieces from whatever goes on in front here? Now, it is a risk, of course. Hawken might well pass and then go off with the race lead and the race win. But these are the risks you've got to take if you want to win races. He wasn't going to win if he just immediately struck back here, Williams. And tried to get that second place straight back again. He's got to bide his time. He's got to get a bit closer as well. The gap about a second now to Evany, and 7 tenths up to Hawken, who had a very good run through the final sector last lap, don't forget. So watch this through the chicane. Evany having to have 2 goes at that again into the chicane, but Hawken didn't quite have the space there to maybe do what he wanted. He just dived for an early apex there for the final turn, and watch out for that. Maybe he'll go for an audacious lunge at the final corner if he's trying to take this race lead. Maybe it'll be at turn 1. The draft on the way down the front straight here is certainly helping him, and he's going to pull to the inside line. Now then, what does Evany do? Does he let him have it, or does he fight, because he knows this could be the battle for the race win if he's not too careful? Round the outside, he's going to fight it with the inside in time for the Mercedes Arena. He'll hold on for now, but Hawkins switches back to the inside and backs out again. That was an early taster of what this battle's going to look like for the lead here.
And a taste of how beautifully designed the Nürburgring Grand-Prix circuit is. You can have the inside advantage as Hawken did into turn 1, but your competitor has the inside advantage into turn 2. Very hard to make that pass stick there, and Ivani's sticking with it there and holding off Hawken for the time being. And you know who's smacking his lips right near you, and that is James Barry, lurking around the back of this group. Only lap 5 of 14, and Barry has got to like his chances to get to the top step of the podium the way these draft parties can happen in these radicals.
Yeah, the other two will definitely still be fancying their chances here. They're not out of it, but in the second half of the race, they're going to need to move up from 3rd and 4th. But you don't want to be banking on the 2 in front crashing, although it is a possibility. You don't want it to be your primary strategy. So that's going to have to be solved in the second half of the race. But for now, Williams is just happy to sit there, and rightly so as well. As Hawken comes up towards the back of Evany here towards the final chicane. Through they go. Much cleaner that time from Evany, especially on the way in. One smooth arc on the way in that time round. Diving for that early apex there, Hawken. And in behind, Williams closes too. This is like a replay of the previous lap here. Even he defended the outside line successfully last time. This time he watched the inside, almost as if this is a sighter for the end of the race. These 2 laps are sighters. He breaks very late there, Evany, and that forces Hawken on the cutback line to the outside through the Mercedes Arena. It's a long way around there, considering there's turn 3 as well. But Evany forced to give him the room, at least for now. Hawkins going to continue to fight, and this would be a move inside of turn 4. What a fantastic move from Brandon Hawken, and he gets the race lead for now. Even he tries to respond on the exit, it's not going to happen, I don't think. And that was a great move from Hawken. Here comes Williams, around the outside through turn 6, and into the inside through the 4 curve. He's going to have that as well. So Peter Evany does lose 2 places in 1, and Williams does play his cards perfectly as he retakes 2nd place.
Oh my goodness, and Jake Williams smells blood in the water there. I was just about to compliment Evany on his racecraft by showing different approaches to turn 1 on subsequent laps, not doing the same thing every time to keep his opponent guessing, but it completely backfired as Evany drops to P3 and now has James Barry sniffing around behind him with about a 0.3 gap.
Oh, goodness me, what is going on there? Sully Rattanen barreling down the inside of Rodrigo Cabanero into the hairpin, and that's gone disastrously wrong. Well, there's going to be 2 sides to that story, that's for sure. Going into the hairpin, that was pretty wild down there. Here comes Evany. He's not quite as willing to sit in 3rd. He is going to eventually do it, begrudgingly. But can Williams stay with Hawkin? That will be what even he's worried about at the moment. Can I trust him to stay close enough here? The gap's already opening slightly, and even he might not be trusting him right now. He might be sighting up a move here on the way towards turn number 1. He's got to stay with Hawkin if he wants to win this race, Peter Ivany, which I'm sure he does. He looks to the inside. He's not going to go for it, but he brakes too late and he hits Jake Williams, who thankfully is unaffected, and they get away with it.
Oh, just a little smooch there on the entry to turn 1. That was nuts. And again, here is a replay of Solly Reitinen now taking a wild dive that goes wrong. Let's see what happens with Solly.
Oh, looks like he was. Well, it's hard, that braking zone, isn't it? Because the track just slightly bent to the left before it finally turned into the Dunlop curve, the right. And so you don't actually have to turn to move line, if you see what I mean. That's what Cabanero did there. He dived for the apex. He went for a straight braking there, a bit further on the inside than what those guys were there. And Reitinen just was not expecting that. I think it is one of those where Reitinen will say, well, you moved over in the braking zone, and Cabanero will say, well, I was just diving for the apex, so I wasn't doing anything wrong. And they'll find it hard, I think, in the moment to see each other's side of that equation there.
Yeah, almost on the replay there, almost looked like Reitinen going evasive. Maybe the breaking point ahead a little quicker than he was anticipating, and went evasive around the outside to avoid contact. But either way, that's going to drop Reitinen down to P13. And that is a loss of 6 positions for him. So Reitinen has lost more than anybody that's still on the track.
Yeah, indeed. Caught in the early trouble in this race, sadly, on lap number 1 with Heinz Braun, who's indeed retired from this race now, which is unfortunate. He had that incident on lap number 1 and has not returned since. We're halfway through this race already. These 14 laps always tick by in the officials here in the Radical Esports Cup, and they are again here. Hawkin leading in front of Williams, Ivany and James Barry, who so far has been pretty anonymous in this group. But it feels like we're still in the stage where these guys are all sizing each other up, and the leader, whoever it is at the time, is spending brief moments trying to get a gap over the others, and so far has proven to be unsuccessful.
Yeah, and some concern for me about Hawkin's front tires there. You saw those repeated peaks down the inside of that final corner onto the pit straight, and that'll work for a couple laps, but you get a lot of heat in these front tires. Front tires pretty stressed on these cars, have a tendency to understeer, and if Hawkin went through those fronts with those fakes down the inside onto that last corner, he could run out of fronts by the end, riding along with Ivany through those Schumacher S's, showing how much space you've got to use out here on the Nürburgring to be at the pointy end of this field, and you have got to use all the green stuff, a lot of the racing here outside the white lines.
Yeah, indeed. It is one of those places that allows you to do that a little bit. So you come up towards that final chicane again with the big anti-cut curves trying to stop you from doing that sort of thing. And that big curve on the outside there, try and make sure you don't get jammed over the top of that too much. Be a bit of a problem. So come out the final turn now. What's going to happen down here towards turn 1? We seem to be in a bit of a holding pattern here, but they never last long in these races, considering the races never last that long. 6 laps to go, and yet they stay as they are. Again, wonder whether that is because Williams won't pass or can't pass in second place at the moment.
I would guess that he's biding his time. Williams, as we have seen over the last couple seasons of the Radical Esports Cup, not shy. If he thought he had a chance, he would have had his nose in. So Williams is watching those laps tick down and making plans to take it to Hawkin. I think if he wanted to make something happen, we would have seen some indication. This so far, some more great camera work there as you see Hawkin taking that tight line, Williams a little bit wide there, but still hanging in, and Barry starting to drop off a little bit. That gap getting away from Barry up to about 9/10 right now. So he needs to start pedaling, or these top 3 are going to get away from him, and he's going to be stuck in P4.
It seems to me that Barry's been a little bit over his head in this group already, and so now that's just coming home to roost for him, and he's going to be pretty comfortable in fourth because he's got a big gap behind, but I don't think it's going to be any higher than that. Sully Rettinen trying to regain some places again now. Jose Luis Fernandez Uris just in front and towards his favourite turn for making passes, the hairpin. Oh, look at that, that was close from Fernandez, and he goes a bit wide anyway, so Rettinen's just going to slip through on the inside. What a difficult race for Sully Rettinen so far for him. Didn't get a top 10 in our broadcasted race last Friday either. He struggled to get a top 10 here tonight as well. Lots of guys still in the race, and still at the moment sweeping up all of the points, or at least our points that we count on Friday nights as we keep our own standings. 5 to go as they go over the line here, and the top 3 continue as they are. By the way, it's the same top 3 as what we had at Road America just 1 week ago, so it's a remarkable bit of symmetry in that sense as well. I wonder if we're looking at the 3 title contenders maybe in not only our Friday standings, because they already are at the top of those, but maybe even the R-Racing standings overall as well. None of these 3 were involved in that great fight between Gullikson and Andre Castro last season, but they're taking a claim at the moment, these 3.
And Hawken, the Canadian, showing his stuff out there. Some significant slip angle there, if you noticed in turn 1. He is flogging the hell out of that Radical right now, and the question is, can the tires tolerate that for 4 more laps? So far, so good for Hawken, but he is definitely driving right on the ragged edge, which you really have to do at these 2100 GMT races. The strength of field out here, tremendous, but those 3 up front, it's Hawken from Williams, from Ivani, with Barry, watching them ride off into the sunset, and great racing here as always. And we'll show you a little bit of the battle for 8th position right there. That is Dick Kennedy. Shout out to him as the only Yank on the grid, up 7. Kennedy, our hard charger at this point.
Yeah, because it's not a bad time. Well, if he's on the East Coast, to be 5:30, not unreasonable on a Friday night to begin the weekend with us in the Radical Esports Cup. And I haven't seen him in the top split before, so doing a good job as well. Although has Hovov and Kyriakopoulos behind, which could be difficult to hold on to. 4 laps to go, and even he again is not close enough, but I wonder whether we're reaching a point where he might start to move anyway here, because it seems to me like I like you thought that Williams was biding his time earlier, but it seems to me like he's now going at full speed, and right now full speed is not keeping him close enough to Brandon Hawken. This is teetering on the edge of becoming a race-winning gap at the moment with this few laps to go.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm also seeing Ivani closing down on Jake Williams under braking here. So we don't talk about it a lot, but tire management out here is a thing on these Radicals, even though the races are very short. When you accumulate a lot of heat in these tires, they start to drop off toward the end of the race. And Ivani looks like he has the pace on Williams right now, and Williams may be more thinking about hanging onto that P2 than making a move on Hawken.
This is going the wrong way for Williams and Ivany in such a horrible place right now. He knows that making a pass on Williams will extend the gap even further, but he knows that the gap is already extending as it is right now, and there's only 3 laps to go to rectify it. So if even he can make a pass, I'd advise that he does on this lap and just try this now. The battle might well lose him some seconds, but it's his best chance if he wants to win, of course. He might be happy with 3rd, but I doubt it. Let's see how badly he wants this race victory as they fly past that slower version of the Nürburgring chicane, go for the more exciting, fast chicane there, and then through the final turn, which Brandon Hawken has always been very good at. He really dives on the brakes there, grabbing the apex early. That's going to make him hard to pass as well early on. And even he might not even be close enough for his lunge here in towards turn 1. Well, he wasn't close enough. Whether he wanted to or not, I'm not sure, but even he was not close enough for that lunge. And this has got the feel of going Brandon Hawken's way just more and more here as this continues on.
Yeah, absolutely does. And look at that gap as Williams not going extreme defensive, but altering his line a little bit, mindful of Peter behind. And That gap slowly but surely rising between Hawk and back to Williams is 0.85. And look at Vonnie showing his nose right now.
Oh.
And Williams is going to wash out. Something happening here.
Yeah, there is, and this is the race sealing battle. Brandon Hawkin is surely going to go on and win this without trouble, because even he's going for this now. He's looking, he's poking the nose again and again, and this time to the outside of the Dunlop hairpin. He's not able to do it there, but this is all they can get now from this race for Williams and even it's the battle for second place for them and no more.
Yeah, and Peter, Ewan here wants you to make a move, so go ahead and stick it on the inside of the chicane at the end of this back straight. I dare you. Let's see what happens.
Well, yeah, he'd be nuts if he went down the inside there of the final chicane, but I'd like to see it. I'm not going to lie about that. Here they come. He's not close enough, as is normally the case. Maybe a cheeky dive into the final turn. You do sometimes see a cheeky one, but pretty difficult to do that, really. It's much better. Oh, to wait for turn one, and certainly now that Williams has got on that curve and he slid on turning, he's going to be passed even before the start-finish line, it looks like here. He comes over to defend, and he makes sure he has the inside line, but he might not even have an overlap by the time they get on the brakes here. He's just about going to cling on to an overlap, and he still does hold the inside, so has a chance here, does Williams. He dives for turn one. He really broke late there, and what a great bit of defending that is. He's got clear of Peter Evany coming into turn two. Fantastic late braking move from him there, from Jake Williams, to hold on to second position. And now even he's going to have a little bit of trouble as he'll now get back in again. Williams, well, what a great defence that was of that second position after such an error through the final turn.
Yeah, wild stuff there in the final quarter. You saw Williams wash out. Even he saw the gap, maybe a burst of adrenaline there, but he also got very loose right there. I'd kind of like to see that again if we could. Maybe toward the end during the interviews, we'll get another look at that. But that was absolutely nuts, and great driving, great car control by both of these drivers. And that is 850 horsepower and 8 tires screaming for mercy right now in this epic battle for P2.
Well, there's only one more lap to go at the end of this one. But who is going to come out the other side with second place here? Brandon Hawkin is going to surely go on and win here. If Williams finishes second, that will be the same results over 2 weeks for them, a first and a second. Peter Evany finished third last week as well, and at the moment would finish there again. James Barry is going to get his first top 5 of the season with 4th position. And Max Davies will be on the top 10 again, this time in the top 5. He was in the 8th position at the end of last week's race. So a lot of symmetry from the first week to the second. It's not going to continue on like this for 12 weeks, but it'd be good if it does, because this is a great fight between Williams and Evany. This time the weaving is more aggressive than ever from Jake Williams. Evany didn't think he was going to get any space on the inside there, and so he didn't go for it. Williams still broke very late though, as if he was expecting that dive. He still manages to make the corner though, and Williams manages to hold on to the place now into the Mercedes arena. Will Evany be able to dive down the inside there? No, he won't. And the best overtaking chances are now behind him.
Yeah, not a lot of opportunities left, with the exception of Williams possibly making an error. Conceivable to get one done down here at the end of the back section, but you don't see it very often. It's so wide, and a lot of banking there to help you through it. But we'll keep an eye on this one, and look at that gap. It is only 2/10 right now, and Evany has done about everything, thrown the kitchen sink at Jake Williams, and man, oh man, Williams, a stout defender, and proved equal to the task. Great racing here for P2. And meanwhile, Brandon Hawkin, look at him. He is driven off due to this fight behind. 2.3 second gap now between Hawkin and Williams. Hawkin will have it in the bag. The only mystery left is right here.
And another showcase, proof positive for Hawkin there that if you see a battle behind you, you can run away to a large degree. Look at the gravel being kicked up there by Williams and Evany as they pushed as hard as possible through that final turn before the long back straight. There's surely going to be an attempt here from Evany, at least the show of an attempt into the final turn. He's close enough as well, and Williams has to just move it over in time for the final corner. In front, Brandon Hawkin is going to take race victory here at the Nürburgring in the 2100 GMT Friday broadcasted race of the Radical Esports Cup. Jake Williams holds on to second, just in front of Peter Eveny, who gets his third place of the season already. But it's Brandon Hawkins' day at the Nürburgring, this time taking the race victory despite again getting a sluggish start. He still managed to get back past Williams and Eveny and go on and win this race.
Yeah, and a great look crossing the finish line there of Peter flashing his headlights at Williams in congratulation. You know that he enjoyed that fight as much as we enjoyed watching and commentating on it. Great stuff here, as always, at this 2100 GMT broadcast of the Radical Esports Cup as the last of the competitors come through. Man, these F1 tracks and these cars, about 50% either past or former Formula One tracks on the schedule this season, and a bunch of American classics as well. So they've put together another fantastic schedule, and what a great show that we had today.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic once again here in the Radical Esports Cup. This is what we're waiting for at the moment, by the way. Romain Faux to come across the line. I'm amazed he didn't pit. He's still going for some reason with no rear wing. I mean, watch this. How is he still even doing this? Well, there you go. Rear wing on a Radical makes less difference than you thought. Who knew? Because that's a very bad-looking car at the moment, and it's still going fine. Anyway, Brandon Hawkin takes the race victory here tonight in front of Jake Williams and Peter Eveny in that great battle towards the end of that race there. Fourth place to James Barry, who was rather on his own towards the end there, as was Max Davies, although he just get a top 5. And Kjetil Larsen in the top 6. Now, all of the top 6 were in the top 10 last week as well, so a lot of symmetry there. Mikael Mercier is at 7th, the new entry into the top 10 this season, as is Florian Horvath. Dick Kennedy managed to get into 9th in front of Dennis Kyriakopoulos, who came through the field quite nicely there to pick up the 10th position. Rodrigo Cabanero also got to the end there, in the end, ahead of Sully Rettinen, who he had that run-in with. Jose Luis Fernandez Uriz, who was passed by Rettinen, finishes in 13th in front of Romain Faux with no rear wing. Rafa Blanco and John Pethwick both had to come into pit lane, and Heinz Braun never came back out onto the racetrack after his incident on lap 1. Only Jake Williams is waiting for us at the moment, so we'll bring him in for a quick chat. Jake, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congrats on second place here tonight. Just tell us about that battle there towards the end there with Peter Eveny, as you were just about held on to second. How was that?
Yeah, hello guys. I mean, it was fun. Shame it wasn't for first, but yeah, the tyres were really not good towards the end. Like in dirty air, they wore out really fast. But yeah, held them off. P2, very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes off the back of a win on the Friday broadcasted race anyway, last week at Road America as well. So is this just a couple of good tracks for you to start the season off well, or are you just generally very pleased with the way that you've started this season?
Well, to be honest, this is one of my worst tracks. In other cars, especially like Formula 4, usually pretty terrible here. But yeah, hopefully, I've seen some better tracks coming up soon, hopefully. So yeah, championship challenge maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. We were wondering the same as this, although it is very early on, of course. We were wondering the same after tonight's race. Well, congratulations on holding on for second here tonight, Jake, and thanks for coming to chat to us at the end of the race as well.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. That's Jake Williams finishes second place here tonight from the Nürburgring, and some early ambition there, JR. I'm not sure whether for just a good championship position he's wanting, better than before, or whether he's seriously thinking about an overall challenge. It's the first 2 weeks of the season, far too early to tell, but the ambition is great to see after the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, too right. And we saw Williams the last season demonstrate a lot of pace. He was always up front, had some maybe iffy moments, lapses of judgment that got in the way of better finishes. But so far, so good this season, and really some great defending against Eveny there. I mean, really outstanding racecraft, and he may be kind of maturing into handling this SR10. Even if you're a very high-rated driver driver, you cannot just jump into this car and excel right away. It's there's a lot of nuances to driving it, and Williams may be coming into his own in this car. So far, so good in week 2.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 2 top 2s for him. That's already better than last season, by the way. He took 1 race victory and 1 third. That's all he got for podiums on Friday nights. Here for us, finished overall 10th in our RaceSpotTV standings. At the moment, he's tied at the top with Brandon Hawking as they've taken out the first 2 weeks together. Will it be a new winner next week at Barber Motorsports Park? Join us from Training 100 GMT on July 3rd for the answer to that one. We'll be live on iRacing and RaceSpotTV as always on Friday night, so very much looking forward to that one. For now, though, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside JL Gregory with Romero Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this RaceSpotTV and iRacing broadcast here tonight. We look forward to your company at Barber Motorsports Park in 1 week's time. It's goodbye for now.